Welcome back to the video series on Advanced Database Management System. In this video session, we are going to discuss on various key constraints and the different types of key constraints, as well as notations which are used in entity relationship diagram. So let's start. So first of all, we will try to understand what are the various keys which are used in database, and then we will try to understand the various constraints in the database. So the first key which we are going to discuss here is super key. It is nothing but set of one or more attributes. Those are taken collectively and allow us to identify uniquely an entity in that particular entity set. And part of that particular super key, we can call it as a candidate key. So here there is one example with which we will understand what is the use of super key, or in what circumstances we are actually required to form a super key. For example, employee ID, it is nothing but an attribute of entity set employee, and which is sufficient to distinguish one employee from another. Thus here, if we understand, employee ID can be called as a super key. And in simple terms, if there is only single key in the super key set, we can call it as a primary key. Similarly, the combination of employee name and employee ID is a super key for the entity set employee. Now here what we are doing, we are actually fusing two attributes of employee entity set, that is employee name and employee ID. The employee name here is an attribute of the employee, which is not a super key because several people might have the same name. So of course, we have actually formed a composite key, or it is also called as a composite primary key. Candidate key, as you can understand here, a candidate key of an entity set is a minimal super key. Means one attribute from the super key, we can call it as a candidate key. So here is an example. Customer ID is a candidate key of the customer. One more example we can understand. Account number is a candidate key of the account entity set. Although several candidate keys may exist, one of the candidate key we can call or we can select as primary key of that particular entity set. So here in this slide, we touched upon three different types of keys: super key, candidate key, and primary key. Let's proceed further. Now here are some simple notations which you need to understand while drawing the entity relationship diagram. Okay, so typically the entity sets are depicted with the help of rectangles. Relationship sets are formed with the help of diamonds, and you can see here the ellipses are used to represent attributes of that entity set. And more importantly, the underlined attribute signify the primary key of that particular entity set. And you can also see the lines which are joining the two entity sets with this diamond shaped object, that is nothing but your relationship set. The double ellipses represent multi-valued attributes. If you remember, in my last video session, we actually talked about the different types of attributes. So essentially, if you want to designate the multi-valued attribute in an entity relationship diagram, then you have to use double ellipse, right? So here it is not shown, but very soon we will be seeing some examples with which the multi-valued attributes are shown. Dashed ellipses are typically used to denote derived attributes. This also we have discussed in my last video session. An underline indicates primary key. So here you can see all the types of attributes in this particular diagram. If you remember, just now we talked about multi-valued attribute. So phone number is an example of a multi-valued attribute, right? Then there is one more type which is shown with dotted ellipse, that is derived attribute. So we have understood in the last session, age is an example of a derived attribute. And if you remember, we have also discussed the experience of that particular employee with the help of start date and the length of the time period he has consumed in that organization. So that is the experience is also a derived attribute, which we have already discussed. Let's proceed. Now here you can see the relationship set with attributes. Okay, so similar example, again, just to make you familiar with the notations of ER diagram, you can just have a look. But very importantly, one change which you need to observe in this ERD is here to that relationship set, there is one more attribute which is attached, that is access date. There is one special term which is used for this, which is called descriptive attribute. If you remember, in my last session, I made you understand that how and why the third table is getting generated when there is many to many cardinality. Okay, to prohibit the redundancy as well as to follow the primary key constraint, how the third table is necessarily to be generated when many to many cardinality is there. Now, if you want to keep extra information in that third table, then a special attribute which is maintained or which is attached to the relationship table is called as descriptive attribute. So here, if you see in this example, a customer can deposit, or rather a customer can have many accounts, and an account can be holded by more than one customer in case of joint account. But here in this many to many relationship, there is a table which is getting generated. Let us name that table as depositor. If you want to keep this information that the customer has deposited amount on what date, or the customer has accessed that particular account on what date, so that information about the access date can be kept in this particular third table. And of course, what will be the primary key of this third table? Customer ID and account ID. Okay, with that primary key, you will be maintaining one more attribute, that is access date. Okay, so this is an example of a relationship set with attribute, which is called as descriptive attribute. Now, if you remember, in my last video session, we also discussed about a recursive relationship set. Now, there is a special term which is used in database, which is called as role. So, what do you mean by that? This particular ERD is depicting about what is a role in DBMS. So, the levels manager and worker, these are called as roles in this particular diagram. If you see this and observe this carefully, here the employee is playing role of a worker as well as a manager in this works for relationship set. And that is why we have termed this as recursive relationships. Okay, so enough of the discussion has happened in my first video session. You can please revisit the video and try to revisit it. Okay, so this is one more example which is showing you ternary relationship. Okay, so very simple to understand. When there are three entity sets which are all together connected with the relationship set, then it is called as ternary. Okay, but here you need to observe the cardinality. So here employee and branch, they are connected with many to many relationship set, but employee and job, they are connected with many to one, and the branch and job is also having many to one cardinality. What do you mean by that? Here, the employee can be associated with this particular branch, or the employee can work on this particular branch entity set with at the most one job title. And that is why here it is shown with the arrow, okay, which is signifying one cardinality at job entity set. Okay, so this is an example of ternary relationship set. Coming to the last topic of this video, students, there are different types of integrity constraints, and in order to keep the database in consistent state, this integrity constraint should be holding on that particular database. So primarily there are four types: domain constraint, entity integrity constraint, referential integrity constraint, and key constraint. Okay, so we will just touch upon every constraint in 2 minutes. What do you mean by domain constraint or domain integrity constraint? Domain integrity means the set of values or the definition of a valid set of values for an attribute. It means the permissible set of values for a specific attribute is called as domain of that particular attribute. So an example can be, suppose you are taking example of a roll number, or you are taking example of an account number. So here, typically we will keep the domain as integer domain. If when we are talking about name, then we will keep the domain of that particular attribute as character. So likewise, you define the data type, length or size, okay, and it is null value allowed or not. Okay, all these decisions you make in this particular constraint, which is called as domain integrity constraint. Second type of constraint is entity integrity constraint. Now, this particular rule states that in any database relation, value of the attribute of a primary key cannot be null. Okay, it means when you designate an attribute as a primary key, then you cannot have null value in that particular attribute. Of course, because the use of primary key is to uniquely identify any record or any entity in that particular entity set. Okay, so this is very important constraint which should be followed, and that is called as entity integrity constraint. Then the third constraint is referential integrity constraint. Now, what does it this particular constraint state? This states that if there is a foreign key. Now, what do you mean by foreign key? Suppose there are two tables, like some time back, we saw an example of customer and account, right? So let us consider for the time being, one customer is having multiple accounts. So here, customer ID is the primary key, right? In customer entity set. But if you want to understand the concept of foreign key, so in account table, if you want to understand that this particular account belongs to which customer, so you will have to have the customer ID in this account entity set also. Now this ID, which is the primary key of the previous or the first table or the first entity set, which is referred in the another entity set, is called as foreign key. Okay. As soon as we will start discussing more on the table designing with respect to these key constraints, that time we are going to revisit this concept. So it states that if a foreign key exists in the relation, then either a foreign key value must match a primary key value of some tuple. Tuple can be also called as a record in its home relation. Home relation means the master entity set, or the foreign key value must be null. In simple language, when you are declaring a foreign key in other table, okay, where that foreign key is the original primary key of some table, that table can be called as a home relation or a master table, then the value which you are putting in the foreign key, that value should match with the primary key value. That is the first constraint. And second constraint is what? The foreign key value can be null also. Okay. Now the rules are actually shown here. These rules are very important in order to preserve this referential integrity constraint. Rule number 1, you cannot delete a record from primary table if it is matching, or rather there is a record which is matching with the related table. You cannot change a primary key value in the primary table if that record has a related record, right? Similarly, you cannot enter a value in the foreign key field, okay, if that particular value is not there in the primary key. And finally, however, you can enter null value in the foreign key, specify that the records are unrelated. It is permissible, right? But the value which you are putting in the foreign key, you have to be very sure about that the same value is existing in the primary key attribute. Okay, so these are some simple rules with which this particular constraint can be preserved. And the last constraint, which is key constraint, we have already talked about it at the beginning of this video session. A key constraint is a statement that a certain minimal subsets of the fields of a relation is a unique identifier for a tuple. Means what? It will actually define that which attributes are going to be used for identifying the tuples in that relation uniquely. Okay, so there are typically 4 types of keys: primary key, unique key, foreign key, and there are 2 more constraints: not null constraint and the check constraints. So as soon as we will proceed further, we will understand what is the check constraint. Okay, so I hope you understood whatever topics were discussed in this video session. Stay tuned for the next sessions. Thank you.